Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Civvie Debrief. And again, today I want to reintegrate that the show is called Civvie as civilian. In the military, we call them civvies. Debrief, we're going to be later on other shows, we're going to be debriefing a civilian about some of the episodes that we've shot. But the reason why I bring it up today is because a lot of people confuse it with CBD brief, which is interesting today because we actually have a veteran that started his own entrepreneurship journey into the CBD realm. So today, and he's a Navy pilot or was a Navy pilot, and very, very interesting story, very interesting individual in the last couple minutes that I've got to actually get to know him. Very, very good stories, and his name is Erick Glover. All right, welcome to Civvie Debrief.
How are you?
Thank you for joining us, man. And I know it's kind of like a running joke, because my like everyone tells, even though I probably say it too fast, so it sounds like CBD brief, but it's not a civilian debrief. Okay. But you're in the CBD realm and that type of business. So tell us a little bit about that before we jump into anything else.
So we are in the CBD industry. What we do is we offer a resource for sourcing CBD as its core component from either directly from labs or from actual straight direct from the farm. So we're a resource to be able to help anyone that's looking to get product direct from the source.
Oh, so, well, I guess we'll touch a little bit about it a little later. Like why CBD, why entrepreneurship to begin with, and why CBD, why that particular industry. But you were a Navy pilot in the Navy, and you went from being an enlisted into a warrant officer, which I know a lot of our viewers won't know what that process is or what even a warrant officer is. So tell us what that was like.
Well, basically, warrant officer kind of falls in between enlisted and actual commissioned officer. The program is, most of the warrant officers that I know of started off as enlisted, and then eventually, had aspirations to go into be something more. Yeah. And instead of having to go back through all the schooling and whatnot to become a commissioned officer, there's a shortcut path to becoming a warrant officer. Once you have such a rating and certain credentials have been met.
Yeah. So for the civilian, so there's this the rank structure in the military goes from enlisted, and then you have your warrant officers, which are kind of like the babies. It's in between the officers and the enlisted, but they really get babied a lot, don't they? They
kind of fall in an area where
Yeah, you're kind of left alone to your own, because I mean you do have a tremendous amount of responsibilities, a lot of equipment under your belt, but you don't have to go into a lot of the op orders or pay attention to. I don't know. You fall right in between. So there's enlisted, warrant officers, and officers, and you were a warrant officer, and you became a pilot for helicopters.
Yeah. So I went through the training program. So they actually send you to OCS over in, what was that? One time it was in it was in Florida. So over in Pensacola, Florida. That's where we went to school at. And then from there, went into training, was over at NAS Jacks, learned to fly the 53s, also known as CH-53s. Yeah. And then, so during the process of actually being assigned to an actual bird, that's when my mishap happened. But
well, tell us a little bit about so you're in, you made the decision to go into warrant officer school, and then you hadn't gotten assigned to your bird, but you get sent over to the Middle East.
Yeah, so during Operation OEF, Operation Enduring Freedom, was assigned to Carrier Wing 1, and then HS-11 was our squadron, and so during a standard operation of pickups and drop-offs, for personnel, we had a mishap where the main rotor failed. And we're not sure if it was due to
shrapnel
or something that was shot into the main rotor, or if we honestly don't know, but we feel like it was, because there's no reason for those things to fail, or something was to catch it like a wire or something. But we did go down.
Yeah, and there was you had mentioned that there was a couple of personnel on your bird, plus civilians on the ground, but no one was severely injured. Everyone made it out.
Everyone on board the actual chopper made it out alive. There was individuals on the ground that were civilians that were in the area, or some of them were different people that we were working with. And so we did have some casualties on the ground, but at the same time we were picking up from a casualty situation, so we weren't totally sure like if that was caused by the accident or not. Or at least I wasn't debriefed on that part, on that part. So,
but you're pretty certain it was shrapnel, and you went down because of it wasn't a friendly fire or anything. No. So it's okay. Yeah. Man, that's got to be tough. And shortly after that, your injuries that you had because of this accident led you to be discharged.
Yeah. So I have a slight lower back spinal injury. I have left leg injury, and I have right arm injuries as well. Some broken bones that came through here. Things like that. So, but I was able. I was conscious. For the majority of it.
What was that like, knowing that when you were going to be discharged? If nothing like that would have happened to you, you would probably would still be in, right? As a pilot.
Yeah, I'd probably still be in. Probably, signed to a bird. I'd probably still be flying.
Yeah, because you liked it. You loved it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. My father was a pilot, so I learned a lot from him as far as, aviation goes.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to join my father with aviation. He was more of the mechanical side of it. So, we had like a thing going back then when I was young in the aviation. So it was like, the black pilot community is relatively small as it is already. Yeah. Being in Atlanta, Georgia, there is a relatively large community of black pilots in that area.
Really?
Yes. So I remember growing up in Fulton County, Georgia, and we have a county airport, Charlie Brown Airfield. And that's where my father kept his planes, and that's where, we went and enjoyed, doing, regular, regular style flights, or I guess you call them personal aircraft.
Yeah. So how was that transitioning for you, knowing that you were forced out of the military because of your injuries? Did that have a large effect on your transitioning out into?
It wasn't something I saw. After the accident, I didn't really see it coming. I was thinking get back at it. Yeah, just go back at it, all right? So decision was made to let me go by the captain, and at that point it was kind of like, what do you do? It's like, and then once you go to the VA and you start that process.
Fucking nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. And so now here's this, constant process of, trying to go through compensation and things like this, and then also the medical side of it with the VA. And
well, actually, it's funny that you mentioned the compensation side. After getting medically discharged, after going through the VA process, like how long did it take you after transitioning out, take you to receive any compensation?
I honestly, so after being medically discharged and going through, the whatever that program is when they,
the TAPS program.
Yeah, when you're getting out or whatnot.
Yeah, the TAPS program.
Yeah, TAPS program. Yeah. So I went to apply for compensation, and it was such a hectic process. I just gave up. Because I didn't have enough time to go down there and sit through the process. And
then, you know what? Levels. And sorry for but that's bullshit, dude. You're already getting medically discharged. You have medically diagnosed injury, and you're getting that discharge. Why isn't it a seamless process to just say, okay, well, this is what you're going to. Sometimes I don't fucking get it, man.
Yeah, it's so they diagnosed me with PTSD. I know they have some kind of levels to it. I know I'm not the extreme one. I'm not the worst. I'm kind of in the middle. So they diagnosed PTSD, and then also all the injuries were accepted by compensation, but you still have to go through the process. And that process is honestly, it was so difficult to make the appointments and the times and go in and do all these different things. We also got the hearing one too.
Yeah, tinnitus.
Exactly, that one. So, but I just honestly gave up on the process, and literally like for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, You
didn't do it?
No, I just didn't do it. I just rather just go back to work.
See, and this is the type of stories that like we want to amplify, and we want to get those stories out. One, because of the process at the VA is such bullshit, man. That it needs to get better. It needs to improve, especially for veterans that are coming out with already documented injuries. You know, why do they have to wait 8 goddamn years for the VA to do something about it? You know, so but we can do probably an entire podcast on that.
Just that alone. I think it's gotten better with the more recent veterans. Yeah. But I think, you know, if you just follow the timeline back, it just, you know, when I got out, it just wasn't as good. And when my father got out, my father's recently within the last 5 years started receiving his medical his disability
compensation.
Yeah, and he went through Agent Orange, and he actually was 100% disabled, and I think it was like 90% of it was because of Agent Orange. That's a cancer causing agent, and they would not accept any of the liability up until now, and he's at the age of almost 70.
Wow, dude.
So
that's fucking insane to me, dude. But I mean, going back a little bit, because we can talk forever, and it's just gonna aggravate the shit out of me about the VA. Because I got my own issues with the VA and that process, from medical to educational, trying to get a hold of anybody with Chapter 31 vocational rehabilitation.
That too.
Holy, dude, it's impossible. But like I said, we could do an entire other podcast about it. Mm-hmm. But I did want to get your perspective. I know that the Kobe Bryant incident is still fresh on everyone's mind, but I wanted to get your perspective because you are a helicopter pilot, and I'm sure you've flown civilian since you gone out. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? What was the issue with that particular day, the weather, because you mentioned before the show that the manufacturer of that chopper is the same manufacturer that does military aircraft.
Exactly. I honestly feel, just looking, from what I've read and what I've seen, I think the pilot was given permission to fly with the special conditions, which is basically using, so the permission that was given to him allows him to be able to fly, not off of what he can see, as landmarks, mm-hmm. right? So visual landmarks is what he's flying off of.
Yeah,
I believe special VFR is what he was given. Yeah. But at the same time, the towers and communication, because they can see where the aircraft is by GPS, and so they have a terrain map. And that terrain map, they're kind of guiding him along and saying, "Hey, look, so many feet you're going to make a left, and so many feet you're going to make a right." And so he's kind of going off of what he's seeing and then going off what they're saying. But if you're flying in fog, in any type of aircraft, so you're moving, well over 100 miles an hour, things are coming relatively quickly at you. So if you only have a visibility of, say, 100 feet, well, 100 feet at 100 miles an hour, I mean, it's literally a split second. So
I guess from a I have zero knowledge. I mean, I've flown aircraft once, and it was a little Cessna single mm-hmm. engine plane. So I'm familiar with terrain association and flying. Was there anything that the pilot could have done differently? Flown slower, flown higher, maybe because the ceiling was really low.
Yeah.
Could he have flown above that? And
well, that's the thing. So when you're dealing with fog and you're in an aircraft, and especially a rotor wing aircraft, and you're giving special permission to go off of landmarks, well, he only has so much visibility to the ground, so he has to be able to see what he's where he's at, visually looking at the ground. I mean, you do have all your instrumentation, so that does give you your altitude, your altimeter, things like that. But as far as terrain goes, from what I understand, that aircraft was not fitted with a terrain warning system, which so when you get
such an expensive plane, and it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't fitted with that, and so when you're competing with something, those type of elements, you really need that. So, but those requirements don't come in until you have an aircraft of either such a size or so many passengers are going to be on board.
Okay.
And then that requirement gets enforced by the FAA that it has to have it. But with an aircraft of that size, it's not a mandated item to have on the aircraft.
Well, again, it was a huge tragedy. I know that I've read a couple of articles where people believe that it was different. It wasn't that much of a tragedy, which I don't know why anyone would say anything like that to someone that is already no longer here. So but to me it was a tragedy. Apparently there's a lot of other details that came out in the news already.
Yeah, super unfortunate accident. I mean, I have 2 daughters myself, so it's just like it really hits home as a pilot, and being in aviation, and then seeing someone with that goes through life with all the achievements that he went through, or that he's achieved, and then being lost.
Yeah.
It's just honestly, at the end of the day, when you really have to sum it all up, if it's not the aircraft's fault, then it has to be pilot error. So that's really what it comes down to. And he was a very skilled pilot, and I actually had a friend of mine that actually flew with him.
With him?
Yes. And so, she had a connection with him and said he was a very good pilot. I think he had flown them to like EDC or something like this. Because I know EDC does flights from LA to Vegas. It's a special package you can get, and he was one of the pilots that he was assigned to her aircraft. And she said he was a very good pilot, like no problems there and back.
Wow.
So he had lots of hours. So at the end of the day, though, anyone can make a mistake, especially in adverse conditions like that.
It was horrible conditions. Again, it was a tragedy, but going, and we're sorry for the loss and everything. But let's go back to you. And you've flown civilian, right? After your separation from the military and your discharge.
I have.
You're still active. You keep all your certs.
Yeah. So. Well, actually, some of my certs have been denied since the PTSD.
Yeah, I could. that was my next question, because you do have to pass a psych eval and
exactly. Yeah. But I still continue to. So I continued to be in aviation with a close friend of mine, Wayne Spaney. He's a well-known designer of aircraft, and super well known in the glider community.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's known for building high-performance gliders.
Oh, okay.
So I started getting into gliders, which are not powered at all. So it's like it's white knuckle flying.
Yeah. Hold on tight.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and you're looking for your next pockets and things like that. So it was
nice,
and it's it's a relaxing way to fly, because it's like there's no actual mission other than to just fly the aircraft.
And you don't need a license for that, right?
No, you don't need a license for that.
I'm when I get your contact, I might want to do that. That seems kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
My fiance and I the other day, last weekend actually, we went skydiving.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. I was a paratrooper for a really long time, and I loved it. So I like the sky. But I want to go back to your service and getting out, and talk a little bit more about your transition and why you got into CBD.
Okay, so
what led you, or what was it that that transitioning, the difficulty or anything that you went through? Or
we can back it up a little bit. Actually, kind of, so basically, I'm an advocate for cannabis as a whole, and we offer both sides of it. We offer THC and CBD products,
Okay.
Or at least outlets for them. CBD does have its benefits, but there's also other components within the plant, like CBN, CBG, and some other THC, THCAs that also have a lot of benefits as well. And so my experience with cannabis was just like most guys I know, is it starts, typically at a young age. You simply smoke it to get high.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, a lot of us didn't have any knowledge as to what the plant could provide to us, because it hadn't been really medically looked at. And then so over the years, it just kind of grew into what it is now.
Yeah, just in recent years, because of the deregulations and things like that, it was looked at a lot harder.
A lot differently.
Yeah, a lot differently. But before, probably a decade ago, it was so it just looked at so bad that people didn't really look at it.
It's looked at as a drug. And to me, I honestly don't see, and a lot of other guys too, we don't see it as a drug. It's not. We don't feel like it's something that it does have healing components, but at the same time, it's ultimately it's not like a drug. It's something that we feel like it's something that's more like concocted of different components that have been put together, and then serve someone to treat an ailment.
Mm-hmm.
Where this can be used as recreational, right? So and it doesn't have any adverse effects on the human body. So. Is that really a drug? I mean, because it does have psychedelic effects with the THC side, but then you have all the other different components which have no psychedelic effects at all.
Yeah, with the CBD relaxing, muscle relaxer instead of taking some other type of medication.
Yeah,
But going back a little bit with, you mentioned that you used to use it to get high and think. Was it something that you were using to escape when you left the military, or?
So, no, I wouldn't say it was that. It was just more of.
I don't want to make it. I guess it was. It's a difficult question because I don't want to make it seem like it was a substance, or an escaping substance like alcohol or Percocets or something like that. Mm-hmm. So what was it that draw you to it in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was more so while in the military, the habit of cigarette smoking is picked up by a lot of them.
They're chewing.
Yeah, chewing tobacco. Yeah, these things are all, especially being on a ship, you have to sea for 6 months. There's nothing to do, so you end up, in order to socialize, you end up being in social areas which typically are smoke pits and things like this on a ship. So, when I came out, I was like, that's a habit. It's really nasty. You need to get rid of it. So, started basically smoking weed here and there. Then, the relaxing sides of it, came into play. Then the psychedelic sides of it came into play as to, expanding the mind and being able to actually have a thought process where you're not disrupted. Mm-hmm. And it actually helped me get through a difficult part of my life, which was the transition from going to being in the military active and being a civilian. And it opened up my creativity, because when you're in the military, you don't really have any creativity. You're not allowed to.
No,
so,
hell no.
Yeah, so you're told what to do, and that's that,
Yeah.
But now that we're out, we can be creative again. So how do we?
Yeah, some of us. I don't have a creative bone in my body, man. I still suck at it. But no, I completely get it. But I also had a difficult time transitioning. Unfortunately for me, my vice was alcohol and pain medication. Wasn't really into, and it was probably because of the stigma the marijuana still had, that I felt that if I got into marijuana, it was a drug, and I felt more comfortable in that realm of the socially accepted substances, which was alcohol. And a lot of people didn't know that I was taking painkillers with alcohol.
Yeah, so, it's unfortunate because when you talk about alcohol, that in itself went through the same type of motions that cannabis is going through today. You know, at one point it was illegal, and then you had the guys who were running alcohol, the alcohol runners back in, I don't know, whenever that was, back in early 1900s or something like that, and then eventually, the states start to pass it, and then the federal pass it. Now alcohol is legal, and you can walk into any grocery store in California pretty much and purchase it pretty much any store.
Back in the Prohibition days, it was
So alcohol went through that phase, right? And it has no benefits for health whatsoever.
It does make people more social.
Okay, so
I'm just saying. No, and in no way do I want to condone it. It was just a joke. But
no, you're right. It does make it more social, but it has no health benefits. And I'm like,
no, zero health benefits. But like I was mentioning, it was for me. It was more of because it's socially accepted, because I wanted to stay within that realm, and if I jumped into back then it wasn't CBD and THC, it was just marijuana. You did either of those, you were a pothead, and that's that social stigma that it was so demonized that I wanted to stay away from it so that I wasn't looked at differently, even though, I mean, now in hindsight, it's always 2020. I was still being looked at the same way. I had a problem.
Yeah, it's our government dictates what is legal and licensed and what is not. And from what the experience that I've had and what others have had that are in the cannabis industry, and looking back at what alcohol went through, and also some other things like tea. You can go way back to the Boston Tea Party when the taxation on tea from what was it, London, and we've refused to pay these taxes on tea and had a Boston Tea Party because it was that
thrown into the harbor.
Yeah, that had to go through a prohibition too. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, so there's tea, there's alcohol, and then basically, if the government can't seem to regulate something and make money off of it, then it just deems it as illegal, and I just never felt that was right. I was just like, how can you just deem something as illegal simply because you can't make money off of it? And so, there's penalties if you get caught with it. And that's the other side of how they make money.
Like, I guess I'm going to jump into a fallacy here and say, well, you could say the same thing about cocaine. You could say the same thing about, I know there's some studies that the VA has done or some governmental agency with ecstasy. Mm-hmm. And PTSD.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I remember reading something on that where it was, I think it was originally created for people like for emotional to
But going back to the so you decided to get into the cannabis industry, and what did you do any school for it, or you just started doing the research and you said, you know what, this isn't right. I think I'm going to jump on this business venture.
So it all started. I had a buddy of mine. I'll never forget. His name is David Foonsvith. I started with him. Great guy. He's going through some challenges as well from our military experience. But he had gotten involved in cannabis quite some time before I did, and he kept telling me, "Hey man, you should really, get in this industry. There's good money in it. It's illegal, but you gotta, make your moves, and they're gonna figure it out."
Yeah.
So he had brought me around some facilities, and he would bring down these bags of weed that were pound bags of weed, and just, "Hey man, you think you can get rid of this and just drop it off on me?" And I was like, I could try. I ended up smoking most of it and having to pay this guy back.
I thought the first rule was never to smoke your own shit.
So you drop a pound off on somebody that's got like, hey, he's like, hey, where's weed at? You got it. And you got other people all around you, and they're pinching off of it, and before you know it, this bag goes from a pound to like, it's almost nothing.
Quarter of a pound. You're like, wait, what?
Where'd it all go? Yeah. So, so he kind of introduced me to it. And at the time, I was living in San Diego. I was in the Oceanside area, and I had gotten back into motocross.
Oh, okay.
So I was riding dirt bikes basically, and so there's areas in the back of San Diego, more up towards the Temecula area, that we had found to ride dirt bikes at. And while riding back there, you would smell the cannabis. You could smell it.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, you could just smell it back there, and there was these little plots that they have back there where they were, growing little plots of, marijuana here and there. And I think at that time, that was when it had become, medically legal.
Okay.
And I know you can grow up to so many plants and things like that.
Personal, I think it was 5 or something like that.
Yeah, whatever it was. But, people were taking all these people's different medical cards and putting them together and calling it a collective. And then, growing like a whole.
That's smart.
Yeah, so that's where the term collective comes from. It's by taking people's medical.
Okay.
Yeah, so medical recommendations, putting them together and then saying, we're going to grow for you as a collective. So anyway, I was back there and I smell it, and I had gotten in touch with some guys back there that were, writers as well. And, they introduced me to it. They introduced me to some farms back there. And, they were like, hey, if you ever want to, come back here and grab some of this stuff, we're always here.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, it just kind of opened up from there. Just kind of started going back and forth and meeting more people and finding more people who were just, open to it. And then it was also, a lot of people were using it to as a supplemental income. And it was just something that just... So
now you discovered this new industry, you were tapping into it prior to the legalization, and now that it's legal, fast forward a couple years later, and you have a company.
So yes, so we have pluglist.com.
Pluglist.
We are a peer-to-peer cannabis sharing website. So what we do is we have an open platform that allows suppliers or manufacturers to be able to offer their products directly to
the consumer.
Exactly.
Okay.
And generally, most of our suppliers on our website are direct manufacturers or suppliers that manufacture on a wholesale level. So you can buy directly from those manufacturers on a wholesale scale. So,
but not private consumers, right?
Private consumers are allowed to be able to come onto the site and purchase as well. So it's,
as much as they want.
Yeah, as much as they like.
So I'm not very versed in the after the legalization of marijuana and how much you can hold and how much you can have in your home.
Well, the thing is that there are some laws in place that somewhat dictate what someone can do with cannabis, but at the end of the day, none of the transactions that are happening take place on the site. It's really it's just a way of marketing the idea.
Oh, okay.
So it's, if you will, it's kind of like, if you will, like a Craigslist or an OfferUp.
Oh.
But more cannabis focused.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, it's wow, that's really good.
Yeah, so it's like if you had cannabis products that, say you had a small farm that you were, growing product, right?
In the future.
And you wanted to offer that, you could give it away if you like. You can, offer it for whatever. So it's a way of being saying, hey, I have some products. I need to just move because I don't need all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is what I have available. They can simply call you, come see it, they like it, things like that.
So there you go. So it's a Craigslist for cannabis industry, or a offer for cannabis industry, and it's called Pluglist.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. But you don't have an actual tangible product. You share and help that connection between B2B and B2C.
Exactly. So we basically are hosting, the website, the domain. So we're the owners of the domain and the website, and we created an environment where we're basically suppliers or people who have product can be able to offer that product to people who are looking for product.
Oh wow! What's the next step for the Pluglist? How do you scale this?
Yeah, so how do you scale it, right? So basically what we're focused on is trying to stay within the legal markets, right? But it's one of those things where you're dealing with web technology and anyone can access it. So we're trying to basically focus on growing the website with each state as they come on board. And then we're also trying to offer a system to where all these different manufacturers or people who are offering products, we have a rating system that allows people to be rated in such a way so that you could be noted as to whether if you're a reliable supplier,
trusted,
a credible, trusted source or whatnot. Because there's a lot of people that offer products, and the products maybe aren't that great, So it's a way of actually getting people to come forward, put their products out there, and find out if their product is actually good or not.
Yeah, I like. So you wouldn't be able to, like somebody here from California that's fully legal, you wouldn't be able to transfer it to a state that's, somebody in a different state that isn't legalized, you can't ship it there.
Well, any type of hemp product or CBD product that falls under a certain percentage, yes. THC products or products that fall over a certain THC percentage, no. But the logistics that happen behind all this, it's ultimately up between the buyer, business. the two ends that are talking outside of our website. So
okay. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the legality about it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys got it covered, but
yeah, we just offer the platform so that they basically can offer the products and see what products are available, and then whatever negotiations outside of that is off the site.
So that's amazing. So that entire thing that you came up with, and it was you and someone else, or was it just you developed it?
No, so it was just pretty much just me, just sitting in my garage.
So coding, and
I know a little bit about coding. I'm self-taught more than anything. Yeah, I just self-taught.
You're not a hacker, right? Take my phone.
I did work at a tech company for some time with a buddy of mine. So I learned a lot there. I was more in UI, UX, and testing. So I had to learn how to read code. So if you know how to read it, you'll learn how to write it.
Oh, okay.
So it was, it's kind of one of those deals where I just kind of self-taught from the UI, UX, just, reading that stuff. And then, we had some web-based type platforms we were working on when I was with him. So I started learning a lot there. And I messed around with a few websites before, got into Joomla and WordPress and Drupal, and just kind of tooled around with it and just kind of self-taught really. So, C++, I got into that. That's another type of coding. Yeah. So just got into, a little bit of everything when it comes to that, yeah.
Well, that's exactly what we want to do with this particular podcast is demonstrate, because you mentioned you had a rough transition, which I want to end this episode, you telling us a personal story that is dear and close to your heart about your transitioning, maybe one of your lowest points, and let our people know, no shit, this is where I am now, but it was a rough patch for me. It does take work.
Does it's sometimes you have to sit back and look at things from a third party view, right? And actually, give yourself an outer body, look at what you're doing and then figure out where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may not know where you're going, but as long as you have some sort of ambition and you keep the drive to want to do more.
When was your oh shit moment? Damn it, I'm having it rough right now, but
yeah. I would say my oh shit moment hit me. It hit me one day when I was actually I was staying with a friend of mine at his warehouse. I was actually staying in a warehouse at the time. I just moved up from San Diego to LA. I was sitting in a warehouse, and I don't know. It just hit me. I was there. We were basically putting together a growing facility, and I started adding up the numbers and started doing the math and started calculating the square footage of how much we could grow per light per square foot and how much that would yield. And then once you know that, then you know how much per pound that this stuff is worth. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is a business. This is something that could really grow into something. This is just one warehouse, and there's other people doing the same thing. and it's relatively something, lucrative that, I feel like a lot of people could get into. And I just like, I start thinking like, okay, how do someone who's growing this product connect with people who are looking for people who need it.
Yeah.
And then so that was kind of my moment in figuring out, like, because that was the problem, was like people are growing and they don't want to know the entire world or have to meet all these people to be able to move a product. So that's what I kind of have a oh shit moment, like maybe we should create some sort of way to connect everyone together.
And then now you're your own boss. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show, and we will love to have you back and hear more about your CBD experience or your cannabis experience, and more of your military experience, definitely. But thank you, man. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
And well, thank you everyone for watching the show today. And don't forget to tune in at 7 p.m. every Wednesday. We'll have a new guest. And then after a couple of episodes, we'll debrief with the civilian and get their perspective and any questions that they might have for like Mr. Glover and myself. And, what do they see from that perspective? And today's show especially, you might not like the industry. You might not like how we do things, but we are leaders in whatever it is that we do. Whether it's in the cannabis industry, whether it's an entrepreneurship and other different ventures, but definitely love this show. I am through my transition, and I definitely experimented with CBD because of back pain, knee pain, and I live in perpetual pain. So again, don't forget to tune in at 7 p.m. every Wednesday. All Access Broadcasting on our Facebook. Like us on our Facebook, Instagram, any social media outlet that you can think of. All Access Broadcasting, or Civvie Debrief, our Civvie Debrief YouTube page. Please watch, comment, and if you have any questions, put them on there, and I'll try to answer them on our next episode. And you want to plug in your plug list?
Yeah, just pluglist.com on Instagram, or pluglist.com is our website.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.